Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we're going to be talking about Andrew Yang, his presidency, and what I think is going to be a major concern, a major issue within his presidency that I don't think anybody is talking about right now, that we have a leading indicator to indicate will occur, and it's going to be a major issue within the Andrew Yang presidency. And that is the fact that, in my opinion, China is sending a signal now with the $699 million Wandering Earth blockbuster Chinese film. That is a leading indicator. That is a canary in the coal mine indicator that China absolutely intends to colonize Mars and colonize the moon and colonize Mars, without a doubt. Okay, and it's a very serious issue, and it's going to be a major concern for Andrew Yang. So let me lay out exactly why I believe this and what the ramifications are of it, and what actions Andrew Yang will need to take in conjunction with this occurring. All right. So let's talk about the first. I want to talk about the Wandering Earth movie. The Wandering Earth movie is an incredibly important film. I don't think people really understand the magnitude of what's happening with the Wandering Earth film. Okay, so first and foremost, in case you're not aware, the Wandering Earth movie is a science fiction blockbuster. It's a very unusual film. It's a science fiction blockbuster created in mainland China, not Hong Kong. It's not a Hong Kong film. That's an important distinction if you know China. It comes from the Chinese, and it's actually approved by the government. So essentially, the government is okay with this film. It's not something. It's not like Crazy Rich Asians, a movie that the Chinese government would absolutely not stand behind and never give its approval to. Right. So it's a really important film. And it's really important too because it made $0.7 billion. Right. It made $699 million. I'm going to round that up. $0.7 billion. That is a huge amount of money. It's the second most successful Chinese film ever made. Wolf Warrior 2 was the most successful, and that movie made $874 million. Just to be clear, there is a linking element between Wolf Warrior 2 and between Wandering Earth, and that is Wu Jing. Wu Jing is the Tom Cruise of China, right? And so it is no coincidence that both of these movies are well over $500 million. Both of these movies are incredibly successful. Both of these movies move the people of China to see the film, right? But the Wandering Earth actually has a purpose, whereas the Wolf of Warrior 2, it had a purpose as well. One of its purposes was showing showing how the Chinese box office can flex, right? Like, hey, we're here, we can really bring a lot of money to a film, right? And so you have this situation where Wandering Earth at $0.7 billion, right? That is a huge indicator. That means that a huge portion of the Chinese people went to see this film and paid their Chinese dollars, whatever that is, to see it, right? It's a really big deal. Now, just real quick, there are 3 other movies in China that have made over $500 million. The Mermaid, it made $553 million. Detective China 2 made $544 million, and Operation Red Sea made $579 million. That is a ton of money, right? Like a lot of money, and it's significant because these are, it shows that the Chinese box office is powerful, and that the Chinese will go see movies if they decide to, right? And the Chinese people, right? So you have all this happening, but I really think Wandering Earth is really like none of these other movies. It's really important, right? So here's the issue. The Chinese government has to be incredibly careful about what they allow their people to see. The Chinese government every single day is in the business, and I really think it is really very much a business, of denying their people rights, denying their people information, the rights they deny them, They deny them the rule of law. The Chinese party can pretty much do whatever it wishes. There's no higher authority. They're literally not bound by the law, right? They have this situation where they deny them freedom of religion. They deny them what books they can read. They deny them, what clothes they can wear, what actions they can take. There's virtually no limits to, actually, the Chinese party, the government, the Chinese communist government, the Chinese socialist government, right? Socialism, Bernie Sanders, right? Basically, very carefully controls its populace, right? So when you see a movie that comes along and the Chinese are like, not only do we want to see you, not only do we want you to see this, this has the stamp of the Chinese party. There's no, like, this ain't a party state, right? There are very specific reasons why movies are shown to the Chinese people, right? The party is incredibly careful what is shown to them, right? And the reality is, and I really think, the top two movies are very important. Wolf Warrior 2, that movie was about showing the capability of the Chinese box office to the Chinese people and to the world. Wandering Earth is specifically preparing, in my opinion, the Chinese people to colonize the moon and colonize Mars. And we're going to talk about why that is in a minute. All right, so basically, and this is really important now, why would the Chinese government, why would the Chinese party push this forward with their people? Why would they do this people preparation? Well, there's a couple reasons. So one of them is a very important gentleman by the name of Liu Cixin. All right, so Liu Cixin is he is a thought leader. He is a Chinese thought leader, right? And it's really interesting by him making this film and by the Chinese government accepting this film and really promoting it among their own people. Liu Cixin is now folded into the Chinese government and accepted and approved by the Chinese government. There was a question at first on whether this was going to be the case, right? Now, Liu Cixin, it's okay if you don't know who he is. Everybody within the American science fiction community, novel reading community, knows exactly who he is. He won the Hugo recently. The Hugo Award is the highest award in American science fiction. And he won it for a series of for a novel called The Three Body Problem. The Three Body Problem is a series, is a first contact novel, and it specifically says, hey, when humans meet aliens, almost certainly, just by the math, the aliens are going to want to destroy the human species. So first contact is going to be inherently dangerous, right? And that when we send messages out to space announcing where we are and announcing our location and announcing information about ourselves, we're like a deer that's giving clues to a hunter, right? It's a really fascinating, it's an incredibly fascinating topic. The book was really compelling. It's really a work of genius, right? Now, why does the Chinese government care about that? They don't really care about art that often, right? And the reason why is art generally is a vector to stop the power of government. It's almost never a vector. It's not as powerful a vector to promote the government. It can be, art absolutely can be used to promote the government, but it's a more powerful vector to stand against the government. So why would they allow this? Well, one, Chinese genius that is able to capture the hearts and minds of people outside of China is incredibly rare. Americans care jack all of nothing about Chinese art. Like, it is incredibly rare for Americans to go, hey, I got this Chinese artist I really dig, this Chinese music, this Chinese painting, this Chinese literature, these Chinese clothes. Like, America, they don't care about anything in China, and the reason why is there's really good reason why. Generally, the art in China is terrible. This is my opinion, and the reason why is they're so restrained, right? So, like, this is like, if you have somebody who has freedom and is able to express all of their, creativity or close to all of their creativity, you're going to get some pretty incredible art. But if you have somebody who's bound and restrained constantly, their art's not going to be that great, right? And that really is the case with China. It's one of the reasons why Americans at the macro level do not care about Chinese art or Chinese culture or any of that stuff, because they just don't think it's good. It's just not that good, right? Now, this is really strange, but I kind of feel this way about contemporary evangelical Christian music, right? I love music, right? And I really enjoy worshiping when I go to church, but when I want to listen to some good jam out music, right, I absolutely never turn on Christian music. And the reason why is, again, the artists are incredibly restrained and their music seems really pedestrian compared to, non-Christian artists, right? Like musical artists. This is exactly the same with the Chinese. It's incredibly difficult for Chinese people to make compelling art because they're fundamentally not free, right? So that's why Liu Cixin is so important. The Three Body Problem is a world-class work of fiction, right? And it really absolutely captured the hearts and minds of Americans, right? And it blew up huge in the American science fiction community, and people have talked about it, right? I was at PhilCon. It's a fantastic science fiction convention last year. There's a guy who did an entire panel on this book alone, and there was like, an hour and a half of discussion about this book, from people who literally work at NASA, right? Like, it was crazy. It was really, really incredible. And the Chinese are like, holy cows, Liu Cixin is a rock star. And they're right? He's a world-class talent. He might be a once-in-a-thousand-year author, right? And he punched through that major problem that the Chinese have, where, frankly, their art is, very few people in the world care about it except Chinese people, right? And Liu Cixin broke that mold. He broke that pattern. He broke through, right? So Liu Cixin is incredibly important, and his work is important. And I think we're going to be unpacking, like, saying that Liu Cixin is equal to his impact on the world will be equal or greater than J.R.R. Tolkien is not an exaggeration. He's incredibly important. So the Chinese realized that they had a world-class genius within their fold. They have a world-class artist within their fold, and they're like, okay, let's use this, right? And let's use this for something that's going to really forward the nation of China, right? And they used his story to get the people of China really excited about space travel, right? And it's an incredible film. It really is just an incredible film. And now, so that's a number one reason why the Chinese are, why the Chinese are moving forward with, why they move forward with the Wandering Earth, and why they're trying to convince their people that space travel is incredibly valuable. Here's the second reason. Okay, this is critical to understand. Control of the moon and control of Mars is the most critical aspect to human survival, human flourishing, and human profiteering, right? Like being able to make profit, right? Base all of those things, right? Whoever controls the moon and whoever controls Mars, that will be the new America, right? It's incredibly important, right? Now, and here's the other thing is, let's talk about climate change, right? I am absolutely not a climate denier. I think we have a problem with climate change. I think climate change could be a problem for the world within 50 years. That's what I believe, right? But I really don't care about it much right now, and it doesn't worry me in the least. And the reason why is I believe in our technology, right? I believe that Americans, I don't think that climate change should be solved with me drinking less Coca-Cola so there's less aluminum. That is stupid and ridiculously small-minded, right? If we are going to solve the climate change problem, it is going to be done with technology, which has been proved to be easily powerful enough to change culture, change politics, change society, right? The answer to climate change is not going to be everybody living like peasants. It's going to be us living like balled-out Americans the way we always are and developing a technical solution to this problem, right? Which will take about 5 years whenever we get somebody with the, cojones to do it, right? That's, or with the chutzpah to do it. That's a better way of saying it, all right? Because anybody could come up with that solution that would need cojones, right? All right. So basically, you have this situation where, and so that's really important, right? And for instance, the fact that the moon and Mars could be colonized, we could massively reduce. We could cut the number of people who live on Earth in half, right? What on earth is me recycling going to do compared to like taking half the people on the planet and moving them to Mars? Nothing, right? Like it's like it really galls me that people keep pointing to this conservation solution to climate change. It's small beer. It's just such a bad idea. Whereas technology truly can solve this, right? So Mars is a big. So one, solving climate change, getting to moon, getting to Mars. That's a big one, right? Now, here's the next one. Very few people know this, and a lot of people should know this, but the moon is a weapons platform. It's the greatest weapons platform over the Earth. It is the high ground on Earth. The reason I know this is I read science fiction, and Robert Heinlein wrote a book called The Moon is a Harsh Mistress in the late 1960s, and said that the moon is best understood as a weapons platform above the Earth, which means whatever country owns the moon rules the world. It's important, right? It is incredibly important, right? All right, so with all that said, I think it is very, very clear that the wandering Earth is a leading indicator, right? A leading indicator that China intends to take the moon and take Mars. Now, what will Andrew Yang need to do during his presidency with this looming reality, right? Well, it's very, very clear. He absolutely, without a doubt, must get America on the moon first and get America on Mars first, right? Now, it's okay, like, I would really like him to claim that land and say, this moon land is for America, and colonize it, right? And the Mars. One of the reasons why I'm choosing Andrew Yang is I think Andrew Yang is a smarter man than me and a man with more wisdom than me, right? And as a person who has more intelligence than I do and more wisdom than I do, I'm okay with him deciding if it gets colonized or what we do with it. I know for a fact, though, that we absolutely need to beat China there. And the reason why is, again, if they take over the moon and they take over Mars, if they take over the moon, they have a weapon. They have the greatest weapon platform ever devised sitting right over the Earth. And they can literally rule the Earth, right? And that can't be allowed. That absolutely cannot be allowed. That is outrageously dangerous from a national and international perspective, right? America has to take the moon. And the reason why is, yes, America's made some mistakes in the past, but nothing at the level that the Chinese do. Right, and people complain about rights being lost or infringed in America. You can't even make a list of the rights that have been infringed against you in China, right? Like the comparison is not even the comparison is ridiculous, right? China absolutely cannot take the moon. It cannot take Mars. And when Andrew Yang becomes president on January 20th, 2021, this will be his problem. Right, and he will need to absolutely make sure that America takes the moon, America takes Mars. I leave it up to his wisdom and his discretion on what America does with that land once we get there, and I think he would make the right decision. Right. One of the other things too is like colonizing it's a terrible word now. It's got a bad rep. Colonizing is considered to be a bad word today. I get that. I totally understand why people would think it's a bad word today. But the great thing about colonizing the moon and colonizing Mars is that is the definition of a victim. It's not even a crime, right? That is a victimless activity, right? It's truly a victimless activity. You can colonize the moon, you can colonize Mars because there's nobody there, right? You're not displacing indigenous people or harming someone. No one's there, right? It's a perfect place for America to colonize. And America genuinely needs lands to colonize, right? So I think so here, let me summarize the point of this video. It is incredibly important that that Andrew Yang recognizes that the wandering Earth is a leading indicator from China that they absolutely intend to take the moon and take Mars, right? And this is very, very dangerous. because if they do that, it is going to mean literally hundreds, if not low billions of people who will lose the same rights that Chinese people have today, right? And Andrew Yang, boy, I don't think he want to inherit a problem of this level, right? Because it means we're in a new space race, right? And I really think that the Wandering Earth is absolutely, it's the canary in the coal mine, right? Miners use these canaries to say, hey, the level of toxicity here could be dangerous to humans because this canary has died. Wandering Earth is a gigantic warning to America that China absolutely intends to take the moon, absolutely intends to take Mars, in my opinion. And I think Andrew Yang needs to start preparing now to know exactly what he's going to do to handle this problem. All of that is my opinion. I'd love to hear your opinion on the issue. Do you think that China is, giving us a warning through Wandering Earth that they intend to take the moon and take the Mars? I'm really curious what you think. Let me know in the comments below. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.